All right, we're starting off the podcast. Hudson is joining us for a third straight time because, trilogies are always the best way to do things. And we had him here 2 weeks ago to preview March Madness, and then we had him back last week to do some more preview of March Madness. And now we've got him here to do a little bit of more March Madness, but also he saw Rozey's quarterback rankings, and he told Trent, he said, hey, I need to come back on.
That is not what happened.
We've got some things to talk about. So we're going to start with March Madness because first weekend is in the books, and then we're going to get into Rozey's quarterback rankings, and then some free agency fantasy football discussion to wrap up the podcast. So I already mentioned Hudson. I think you heard both Trent and Rozey laugh, and so they're here with me this week as well. I think we have to start on the March Madness front with the David versus Goliath of arguably the biggest upset in tournament history.
Fairly big David versus Goliath.
No, Trent?
It's not the biggest up. The UMBC over Virginia was way bigger.
No. You forget DeAndre Hunter didn't play in that game.
Okay, but Purdue's terrible.
Okay, but imagine Purdue without Zach Edey. That's what Virginia was without DeAndre Hunter. Not to the same extent because they still had Ty Jerome and what was the other Kyle guy. But
the fact that you can name two other players, that proves my point.
Okay, name two players outside of Zach Edey.
Foster Lawyer, Gillis, I think is his name. Number 0.
Did y'all see the tweet from Roger Sherman of The Ringer about this matchup? So Ken Palm tracks effective height, which they take the height of your forwards and your centers and they weight it based on minutes played. And Purdue ranked number 1 in all of college basketball. And Fairleigh Dickinson ranked number 363 out of 363 schools. So it was like David versus Goliath is not just a...
Are you telling me size doesn't matter?
Well, in that game, they had a guy get into foul trouble. And they're like, oh no, that's their best option for guarding Zach Edey. He's 6'6". I'm like, wait, what? He's 10 inches shorter than Zach Edey, and that's your best option? Okay.
I don't even I just don't know what to make of this game. I mean, Purdue, we kind of knew they were susceptible, but I didn't think that no one expected them to lose in round 1 to FDU. It's unbelievable. I don't know. It's unbelievable. Fairleigh Dickinson moved on. They ended up losing in round 2 to FAU, Florida Atlantic.
FAU.
I hate those guys.
Wait, why do we hate them?
They're first off, they shouldn't have beat Memphis. That was just awful. I don't know. There was twice, once in the FDU Purdue game and once in that Memphis FAU game where, the Kawhi Leonard Zaza Pachulia play where he slides under him and he gets hurt and they change the rule in the NBA and it's a flagrant foul if you do that. They did that to Memphis's best player. It happened in the FDU Purdue game too. And they didn't call it either time. Not even a common foul. And I don't get it. And that really cost Memphis the game, in my opinion.
Well,
I did not like how the FDU game ended.
With the windmill dunk or whatever when the game was out of hand.
Yeah, that was
which
stupid.
he missed.
Which he missed, yeah.
And it's on site for me and that guy. On site.
On site. Rozey, you made a bracket in the making the call.
Started off pretty well.
And you started off great. And you got to witness in the perfect way, how it goes when you make a bracket, because you had a great pick. I'm going back to find it. Who was it? You picked one of the big upsets in round 1. I think you did at least. And you were like, oh, heck yeah, I called that. I was the only one who did. And then literally an hour later, Arizona loses. And you had them winning it all. And you're like, well, there it goes.
I'm done with March Madness now.
Oh, it was Furman over Virginia.
Yeah.
That was it. You picked Furman.
I had that.
Okay, Hudson and I were the only ones that had it then.
I was arguing for them to get the Sweet 16 on our last podcast.
You were.
Yeah.
No, that's true. Speaking of a team that we had in the Sweet 16 and even all the way to the Final Four in our Making the Call bracket, our sweet prince, the Golden Eagles of Oral Roberts. They couldn't beat Duke. We all
They
wanted
couldn't hit a
it.
shot.
They started out down like 20-2 or whatever the score was,
And that was bad.
and ended up losing to Duke in the first round. And it was just a bummer, man. Like I wanted it so bad for them, but Duke getting just manhandled by Tennessee and their physicality in round 2, I think made it a little more, made it sting a little less.
I didn't love that part. I had Duke in my Final Four.
Yeah. But so we did our draft 2 weeks ago when we first had Hudson on. It was Hudson, Trent, Austin, and myself, and we each picked 4 teams that we thought could realistically win the entire tournament. And I think it's really telling of the tournament this year that of those 16 teams, 8 of them did not advance past round 2. We just half of them off the board. Done. The number 1 overall pick, Kansas, that Trent had, gone. Purdue, gone. So half of round 1 and then 6 other teams. It just, I don't know. Hudson, what do you make of this March Madness tournament so far? I mean, I think we all kind of expected chaos because no team really seemed like a juggernaut this year. But I didn't expect all these top teams to lose like we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have said these, like, the specific teams that would have gone out. Like Kansas, you kind of knew because of their 8-9, both those teams are very talented, but not necessarily going to put it together every time. They might be in trouble. Purdue, like you said, I think a lot of people had them losing in the second round, not so much the first round, but that was just great coaching. They did the thing that Purdue struggled with all year and no one wanted to do, and just pressed them and made the other guys hit shots. But overall, it's just there's not that many good teams, and so they're going to lose every now and then. That's like what happened this whole year. Someone's won, they lose. Someone's won, they lose, just constantly. So I think we've reached a point where it's like there are still favorites, but does that matter? Because I'd say like it would be Bama is the clear 1 right now, but Brandon Miller's nursing an injury, so who knows? And then I'd say UConn is probably the number 2.
Oh, you'd put UConn over Houston?
Yes.
I'd put 4 teams over Houston. I'd also put Texas and UCLA over Houston.
Wow.
They just don't impress. I think they'll lose to Miami. I don't think that's a good matchup for them.
So here's my thing about Houston is I think we may, because that was a home game for Auburn. So I don't know.
It was, yeah.
I think they got through it. I think you throw that game away.
Did you watch the 16 seed game?
No.
Yeah.
All right.
They were tied with like 14 minutes.
You can't
left.
sleep on the 16 seeds anymore. They're not, they're not shoo-ins. Purdue showed us that. So I don't know. So you'd have Houston 4th,
5th
behind UCLA, Bama, Texas, and UConn.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that.
I don't know. I mean, Texas has looked good, but it feels like the clock's going to run out for them at some point. And
They kind of convinced me that it's not the same this year with that Penn State game, because they were up like 10. Penn State goes on like an 11-12-0 run, something like that, to take the lead. And I'm texting Trent. I'm like, yeah, Texas lost. They're not winning this. This is a classic Texas March crumble. And then they just put him into the ground for the rest of the game. Like, it wasn't close. They weren't worried. They're very, very good.
So Texas is matching up against, let's see here, Xavier in the Sweet 16. And then the winner of that game goes on to beat the winner of Houston, Miami. So based on what you're saying, Hudson, you would pick maybe Miami to beat Houston and then Texas to beat Xavier. So you probably have Texas going all the way to the Final Four then.
Yeah, I think that Texas will play. Gonzaga is also a contender, even though I don't really think they've looked that impressive. They've just kind of skated by, but they're still pretty good. But the right side has much better teams than the left side of the bracket, for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Some other notes from this weekend, and then we'll get on to Rozey's quarterback rankings. Princeton, shout out to the Ivy League, going to the Sweet 16. They upset the 2 seed Arizona in round 1. and then they beat Missouri in round 2, so they're going to be facing off against Creighton, the Sweet 16.
I think you should give the Ivy League a perennial 13 seed.
Yeah, we said that on the podcast. We were like, you can't overlook an Ivy League team.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I barely even watched them. It was just like, it wasn't very entertaining. I watched some of the Zona game, but
I didn't watch much of it either, but you can't make an Ivy League school 15 seed. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, and
they
you
have
mentioned it,
zero
Hudson,
scholarship
but
players.
like when we were going through and filling out our bracket, I remember Trent got to Arizona versus Princeton. He's like, all right, so we're all picking Arizona. And we're all like, yeah. And he was like, man, it feels weird just like moving right past an Ivy League school, but that's what we're doing. And sure enough.
I was a lot higher on the Pac-12 coming into this, and when they have one team left.
Yeah. UCLA or
Yeah.
UCLA, as you would say it.
I do love me some UCLA. Which, granted, they only had, four? Arizona State, 4.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State probably should have beat TCU, but then they just threw up on themselves for the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, Michigan State looks good too, so can't really fault USC for losing to them. So I don't know. Maybe I am rightfully high, and the teams just got beat by better teams.
Yeah. All right. So a few other notes. Let's see. 2 1-seeds lost in the first weekend for the first time since 2018, which was also the last time that the only other time that a 16 seed beat a 1 seed, and that UMBC upset against Virginia. And then let's see. Kansas lost to Arkansas, keeping the streak alive of the defending champion not making it past the opening weekend dating back to 2016, which is kind of a crazy stat. Trent, you want to tell us about your favorite player in college basketball right now?
Kansas State, Marquise Noel.
He was electric in that game against Kentucky.
That game was so fun to watch just because of him. I was telling Hudson earlier, my favorite team in this left in the bracket, Kansas State, cheering for him whole way.
Yeah, I agree, but different reasons. Go Jerome Tang.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to like Kansas State. Whether it's
their quarter zips are phenomenal. Their bench quarter zips.
Those like
they
lavender.
Get no respect.
Nice lavender with the little cat on it. I looked for it. They only had a Columbia version, so the Nike's not out yet. But God,
they
they
look
look
good,
nice.
Man.
Yeah,
and they're going to be playing.
pair that with some black pants.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. All right, and then finally, and then making the call bracket pool. In terms of first place by total points is going to be the 9.5 seed Upset at 420, followed by Jack, our resident UT fan, at 400. But I also like looking at the max total points, and if we look at max possible remaining, we've got. Let's see. Matt Hitt, friend of the show, 1,500 max remaining. He's got Alabama winning it all. So I've been very impressed because I feel like our bracket pool is very close, where you still have 10 plus teams that are all in the mix to place in one of those top 3 slots. It's been fun to follow along for sure. Let's see. Anything else, guys, on March Madness, or do we want to just get into the quarterback rankings?
Let's move on.
Rozey wants to join the podcast.
Rozey's excited. All right.
I don't watch basketball. Sorry.
Yeah, you picked a Pac-12 team to win it all. It
Our
showed.
next segment will be covering the Premier League, so let's go ahead and get into that.
And golf next.
All right, Rozey. So you had another installment of your dynasty rankings come out on the Substack this past Friday. We'll have a link, of course, to subscribe to the Substack in the show notes of this podcast. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you go and do that. You ranked the top 25 quarterbacks in dynasty. How do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about some of the things that you wrote in the Substack? Do you want to just get right to any issues that we have with some of your rankings, or do you want to get? I mean, how would you like this segment to go?
Well, let's save the stuff I wrote up for the Substack. And also, by the way, no one's doing dynasty rankings that aren't behind a paywall. So get on this. Just I should make that clear.
That's right.
But
Elite
let's just
Before they go behind a
fantasy
paywall.
right.
What's that?
I said before they go behind a paywall.
Well, why don't we just start at the top then? I got Josh Allen at 1. Anyone want to fight me on it?
Yep.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Anyone
So you
except Patty Mahomes is the wrong answer.
Yes.
Well, if I look at the last 3 years since Josh Allen broke out,
And nobody's thrown the ball to the other team more.
it doesn't matter. He still finished second last year,
Behind who?
behind Patrick Mahomes
Oh, okay.
Oh, so you have him second in your rankings?
in a down year.
Did
No,
you see
because-
what Mahomes' receiving core?
Let me finish.
I'm gonna let you
That's
finish.
on the podcast.
Patrick Mahomes had the best.
Keep going.
The 2 years prior, though, he was QB1. So let's see where Patrick Mahomes was then, real quick.
4-4.
Right. So I think that Josh Allen has, a better track record than Patrick Mahomes does, fantasy wise, because he's going to run more. I mean, that's the thing. He's been a goal line back since the day he came
Stop
into
talking.
the NFL.
What you just said is going to come back to haunt you here in a minute. Continue.
Yeah, definitely is.
Wait, go ahead and
I'm trying to save you, Rozey. Stop talking.
Jump on in, man.
go ahead and make it come back and haunt him. Let's get it.
I'm about as big a Justin Herbert fan as there is. How is Jalen Hurts at 6 and Justin Herbert is at 3 when Jalen Hurts is going to run all over the place?
Well, I think that Herbert is a better quarterback for one, and typically I put better quarterbacks over okay ones, and Jalen Hurts is okay. He runs a lot. You're right, goal line back, but I do think that the Eagles are going to be a worse team and the Chargers are going to be a better team. I think if you look at last year, Justin Herbert was completely neutered by Joe Lombardi. So this year
Sounds
with
uncomfortable.
Kellen Moore, wanting to score offensive points, unlike last year.
Weird strategy.
Yeah, weird strategy. I don't understand it, but
Old strategy, Cotton.
Kellen Moore said he wanted to get Herbert running more this year.
Yeah, and that too. I mean, Herbert, he did that in college all the time. So, Hurts is going to have more rushing yards, of course. He's going to have more rushing touchdowns.
But wait, I thought rushing yards was like, you use that as the case for putting Allen over Mahomes, even though Mahomes is like the better quarterback.
Two different quarterbacks, man.
Okay,
Two different situations.
I'll concede the Herbert one, but why is Jalen Hurts below Trevor Lawrence?
Poke.
I think I'm just not as high on Jalen Hurts. I don't know if he can do what he did last year. I think I was higher on him over consensus last year just because I knew he was going to run. But I think we see it time and time again that these guys need to progress as a passer. And that's what we saw with Josh Allen. He progressed as a passer. He's a really good passer now, despite all the interceptions. But Hurts, I don't think we've seen it yet. Kyler Murray, there was an argument that Kyler Murray should have been a top 5 quarterback last year, and even the year before that. Never progressed.
According
as a
to
passer.
who? Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
That's
Dynasty or real life? I'm trying to think where he got drafted
in
ours.
fantasy. In fantasy.
Nah, he cheats at Madden. I'm out on Kyler Murray.
It was Allen.
Yeah, but people, even
Burrow,
Lamar Jackson,
Jackson.
we haven't seen that progression of Lamar Jackson being a really good passer.
Easy,
That-
man. Andrew might call you racist.
Lamar Jackson's a
easy
good
here.
passer. He just doesn't have good receivers. He can throw tight windows over the middle very
He
consistently.
can. Not consistently.
Yes, he
not
can.
consistently at all.
You
No
try
way,
throwing
man.
to Devin Duvernay.
So wait, hold
I-
on. I have a question. So
If I'm throwing the
You're
Devin
not-
Duvernay, there's a bigger problem.
So the interceptions, because I can't get past the Josh Allen at one thing. The interceptions with Josh Allen don't bother you?
No, they don't really factor into fantasy.
Okay, so they only matter when we're talking about Dak Prescott. Got it. All right. I just wanted to.
I never
wanted to make-
even mentioned interceptions or Dak Prescott.
I feel like his interception rate this past year always comes up. So I just wanted to establish the baseline. Make
No,
sure
I just don't think Dak's that good. That's my issue.
Well,
with
I
him.
think it's clear you don't think so because you've got 3
think
rookies
you-
and Kyler Murray ahead of him.
I think you have him too high. To be completely honest with
I
you.
only have one real gripe with where he has Dak, and that would be Levis.
I think he deserves to be over Kyler Murray.
I don't.
Kyler
fantasy
runs.
wise.
Not on Dine. I mean, not
Kyler
on
runs for
fantasy.
4 weeks and then he gets hurt.
Deshaun Watson's the one I'd argue because my God, did he look terrible last year? But
Yeah.
who knows?
I mean, that could definitely be a bust, but I feel like 9's a pretty safe spot because I think you do have a top 8
He
quarterbacks,
He
and those
was
guys
top
are
3.
elite. Exactly.
Deshaun
Deshaun
4
Watson-
years ago?
Yeah, he was top 3, and that's what we were thinking maybe he can get back to. I mean, he's had half a season with a new team. I think you got to give him a little bit more grace. I have no
he's had
problem with him.
4 years since he was a good quarterback, 26 sexual
that's not
assault
true.
cases against
Feels
him.
like Deshaun Watson is going to end up being like the quarterback version of Josh Gordon, where we just keep referencing like 5-6 years in the past. Remember how good he was, and then he just never gets back to it.
Well, Dak Prescott's got that locked up.
Okay. That was a cheap shot. Come on.
It was a layup. What are you talking
Dak
about?
Prescott is a saint of a human being.
I just
Yeah,
wanted-
he won
Trent,
the
what
Walter
would you
Payton Man of the
trade
Year.
for Deshaun Watson in Dynasty?
I need options. Like, we talking draft picks?
Assuming 12-team Superflex league.
I'd probably go if I wanted to get Deshaun Watson, I'd trade a mid first round in Derek Carr for Deshaun Watson.
Okay, if you have every pick in this year's draft, which one are you going? That's the one I'd trade straight up for Deshaun Watson.
5.
That's a good question. 5?
Yes.
I have the 8. I don't think I'd trade it for Deshaun Watson.
Really?
I don't think I would for 8 either.
I think just quarterbacks alone, like
Because
You could get you one of the
I think
you can
you
get
could Levis at 8 unless Andrew double dips in the quarterbacks. Then at that point I can't, but I'd rather have Levis than him probably.
if Levis is at 8 and he's drafted in the top 10, that is an absolute steal. And that's why I got Levis at 12 in the rankings.
Rosie. These two guys aren't high on Levis. I am.
I don't have any issues with Levis.
Keep it chill.
It's just he's probably going to be the 4th one drafted, so he's probably going to be the 4th one drafted.
So,
in
yeah,
Dynasty.
You guys think that Levis is going to be Josh Allen when there's a higher probability that he's closer to Paxton Lynch?
Yeah, I don't like that comparison. I think Will Levis is more like Justin Herbert. Didn't show a lot in college and then exploded in the NFL.
Here's the thing I can't get out of my head about Will Levis. When has Kentucky football ever been good when he's not there?
I mean, their defense has been really good for about the past 4 years.
Yeah, but
Is he playing on the defense?
yeah.
Exactly.
They started to get
He's
good
making
once
the
the
defense
Stoops
good.
brother got there.
They didn't start winning games till he showed up. So that's
They
kind
started
of
winning games when Mark Stoops showed up.
They correlate. Maybe I don't know. I was just looking for. I was looking for a big word. I just can't get that out of my head about him.
You
I
gotta throw
don't
out
have any.
2022.
I don't have any statistical Levis.
I
is
don't
gonna
have
be a
anything
great
against
player,
Levis.
but he wins, and Kentucky doesn't win when he doesn't play.
So I'm curious, Rosie, going back to your rankings, because we kind of talked about, so your top 5, or I'll say your top 4, you've got Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, and Burrow.
Tier break.
And I think, what's that?
Tier break.
Yeah.
Is that what the blue means?
I think
No.
those are like the top 4. And you can, quibble about order of those 4 and where you would slot them. But I think those deserve to be the top 4. But I'm curious, like 5 through 9, what your thinking was, because you've got Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson. So like, what was your thought process on slotting those guys where you did? Because you've got guys who are really good with their legs, like Fields and Hurts and Lamar. And then you've got, more traditional, poised pocket passers like Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. So how did you slot them based on where you did?
Well, I think Lawrence, I think he has the greatest chance to vault into the elite top 4 level. I mean, that was his pedigree. He's next Peyton Manning. And then Hurts, he has the most recent track record of doing it, and he has a fairly clean game all around. Lamar Jackson, there's a lot of question marks. We don't even know what team he's going to be on. But he probably, I mean, he's the only one that's, been QB1 down this list. And then Justin Fields, he has some question marks, and I think he has more question marks than Lamar Jackson does. Yeah.
Okay. I think I think it makes sense. And this isn't the Cowboys fan in me, but
Yes, it is.
no, it's really not. I think the Jalen Hurts 2022-2023 season, we're going to look back on it and it's going to seem like a flash in the pan. I just think like this past year set up perfectly for him, and they're losing so many pieces on both sides of the ball. And I just don't know, like, with these running quarterbacks, the offense has to be able to adapt year after year after year because the defense figures out what they're running. And you kind of see that with the scheme that they've ran in Baltimore with Lamar. Like, it's gotten stagnant at times. And I'm not sure how the Eagles offense is going to evolve, especially whenever they lost their offensive coordinator. So I'm looking at kind of your top 10, or I guess we'll say top 9 because 10 is Bryce Young and he's a rookie. I think of any of those guys falling out of the top 10, I think Hurts is the most likely option.
What about the guy that might not actually be a starter in a year?
Who's that?
He's here.
The guy who can't throw a football?
You'll have to be more Deshaun Watson?
Well, I mean, if he gets the correct prosecution eventually, then maybe. But no, the guy who can't throw a football. You know which one.
Well, I already talked about Jalen Hurts.
Did you watch him in
This
the Super
segment's
Bowl? He
brought
threw
to
some
you
good
by
footballs.
Enterprise. Enterprise, we'll pick you
I
up.
know what you're referencing.
I see why Trent wanted Hudson on the podcast.
Dude, Justin Fields. I loved that guy out of Ohio State. He cannot throw a football at an NFL level.
I mean, can we see how this next year goes? Can we not?
I mean, if you want, it's not going to change my mind because he's still going to be.
I'm open.
Bad.
He can change my mind if he wants. If he can throw a football next
When
year.
he's
He couldn't
throwing to
throw a
guys
football
like
last year.
Byron Pringle,
If they're open and you don't hit them, it doesn't matter what their name is.
yeah, but I mean,
it does when you have no offensive line and you have no pass catchers who can't
I
get.
mean, it does not matter if a guy's open and your feet are set and you're throwing a football.
he's
that
still in
doesn't
his second year, though. That's the thing. He's in his second year throwing to nobody. Nobody's helping him out. We saw Josh Allen take a huge step forward when Diggs got there. So DJ Moore could be that. I don't know if he will.
Are you buying or selling DJ Moore? If you have
Selling.
him.
Selling.
Okay.
I don't think DJ Moore is all that, but I know a lot of people do think he's all that.
He's all that compared to who was in Chicago last year.
Right.
Yeah, but somehow he has a worse quarterback for catching a football than he did last year.
I would like to see a little bit more support around him before just completely writing him off, because
I'm not writing him up. I'm just saying you said
rookie-
most likely to drop off, and you didn't say it was Justin Fields. You said it was a
Because I
dude
think
who
Justin
was
Fields'
almost Super
ability
Bowl
as a
MVP.
runner is so electric, and more so than a guy like Jalen Hurts, that his floor is top 10, despite any passing deficiencies.
I think that's what you're saying about Hurts too.
Yeah,
And
I don't get why you're saying that that Hurts would be the most likely to drop out over Fields. When Jalen Hurts, he had a weird dropped fumble and his defense was terrible in the second half, or he was the Super Bowl MVP. He outplayed Mahomes. He did. Like, Mahomes is incredible. He's the best quarterback, but Hurts was a better quarterback in that game.
Oh,
Man,
he
I
played
forgot to go
awesome
to
in
church
that.
this weekend, but Hudson is preaching. He's preaching to the choir.
And I'm a Cowboys fan too. I don't want him to be good, but he was good.
Andrew, I want to agree with you. Like, I think that Hurts is the kind of quarterback that we just saw his upside. I think we just saw him performing at his best. I don't think he's going to do it again, especially losing Steichen. But that being said, I have him at 6 because I think his baseline, I don't think that next year, if there's an injury, I mean, even if there's an injury, I don't think he finishes outside the top 10. I don't think there's any way. Will he finish at 3 again? I don't think so.
All right. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think Lamar Jackson is probably the most likely to fall outside the top 10.
Yeah,
That's
because he
just
won't
if he
play.
doesn't play, though. If he plays, he will.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, imagine if Lamar Jackson gets injured again, third year in a row.
Easy, Rosie. You're starting to sound a little racist over there.
Has nothing to do with race, man. Don't.
I mean, I can make
Just
a
me
more
that, and I'll
compelling,
stick.
I can make a more compelling case for other guys to not be this. Like, let's say the thing I value most in a quarterback in dynasty, how far out can you feel confident this dude is a starting quarterback? Because then you at least have someone giving you 15 points or something like that. And I feel a lot more comfortable with Lamar being like, yes, he maybe misses a year for this, but I feel a lot more comfortable with him than some of the other guys in the top 10.
So
That's fair.
I think you're wrong.
About what?
The most valuable thing in Dynasty is not trying to project out their career.
No, you're not.
I'm not trying to project
hold
their
on, hold
career.
on, hold
It's
on.
just job security.
It is perceived potential. That is why these rookie picks are so valuable, because you don't know what Bryce Young is going to be. Bryce Young could be out of the league in 2 years, or he could be a top 5 guy. Like,
But
that's
that's the
what
thing.
makes
Bryce
and
Young
that's-
won't be out of the league in 2 years, because if you're a top 5 pick, your team, unless you're Zach Wilson, which is just a weird situation, your team's giving you a chance to be a starting quarterback for 4 years minimum if you're a top 5 pick.
But you could also say
For
if you
Zach
look
Wilson, Trey Lance.
yeah.
Trey
You look
Lance
at you look at
injured
first
for
round quarterbacks, and
9.
historically it's about a 50% bust rate. So
Yeah. But that bust rate, you still get them on the field for 4 years if they were a top 5 pick. If they're a top 15 pick, Josh Rosen hadn't been heard from since his rookie year.
but how
He was
good
picked
are
at
they in
9 or
those 4
10.
years? Like, okay, let's take like Trevor Lawrence, for example. His rookie season was not fantasy relevant. Team was
Yeah,
awful.
just throw that out.
Exactly. So Zach Wilson, his rookie season, not fantasy relevant. Trey Lance, his rookie season, not fantasy relevant. So like,
I
you
was
could
starting
say,
Trevor Lawrence his rookie season.
but what
I'm
did he
sorry.
finish at?
I don't know. But
know what
he
I
was
mean?
starting for me.
So, I mean, Kenny Pickett last year, good example. So like, it's
He
a
was
lot
my
of these
QB1
first round running,
last
or a
year.
lot of these first round quarterbacks are getting drafted to teams who aren't very good. So it's not like they're going to step in and immediately become,
But like
top 10
what you're
guy.
saying is there's a 50-50 chance if they're going to be good or not. Yeah, you're right. That's 100% true. You're flipping a coin of if they're going to be good. But I want the guy who's going to have a longer chance to figure out if he's good, because then you at least have years where he's giving you points.
I think in Dynasty, you draft talent over situation. And especially at the quarterback position. If you like a quarterback, then you draft them high. It doesn't matter what situation they're going to.
I think with quarterback, you draft situation over talent.
Absolutely not, man.
I mean,
Absolutely
that's so,
not.
like NFL teams can't evaluate talent. How are we going to evaluate
Exactly.
talent?
Well, I mean, you go off of the NFL's evaluation for one. So you have a baseline there. And
so
then,
like, if you're looking at these rookies right now, where do you want those rookies to go that you feel better about them being good, each of them?
well, I know that if I'm already shaky on Stroud,
Okay.
if he goes to the Panthers, I'm completely out. Because I think that his type of quarterbacking would do horrible with the Panthers. I think that he'd be under pressure all the time because no one's going to get open because Adam Thielen's like 45 years old and he's their best receiver.
32.
I like how you
That's
had
45 by wide receiver standards.
Right, exactly.
They'll probably, I would guess they'd take a receiver with their second round pick. So you probably get like a.
It doesn't
Hyatt
matter. I
or
don't
something
like any
that.
second round receivers in this draft.
I don't really like the first round receivers.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's why I
So
liked last year's receivers so much and grabbed like 8 of them.
And, I think Bryce Young is going to be successful wherever he goes, whether that's the Panthers or wherever. He's just too smart to not have success. And with him, it just comes down to, is a defensive lineman going to come up and slam his body to the ground like a sack of potatoes? That's why I'm worried about him. But that's the only thing. Richardson, fantasy-wise, I think he's going to do great as long as he's healthy. And Levis is just – he's either going to do great or he's going to be horrible, no matter what situation he goes to.
Okay, but what are the ideal situations for these guys?
That's what I'm saying. They're
You
all
like
different.
situations, but yeah, no. But I mean, like each individual one, like where would you want Young to go? Where would you want Richardson, Stroud, Levis? Where do you like them going? Basically,
Lions, all 4.
I was gonna say.
Well, so if one of them goes to the Lions, then they're sitting for what, minimum a year?
Right.
probably.
Okay, of those
Probably.
4, which one would you rather the Lions have?
Richardson.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Whoever they thought was the best one. Honestly, just I kind of trust their talent evaluation right now. They seem
I
like
agree,
they know
man.
what they're doing.
Gonna have to agree with you there.
Okay. Well, interesting. Let's see. Anything else? I think this will be a good note to
You want
end
to talk
on.
Dak?
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I'm going to have any supporters on this podcast. But I think having him at 14 behind 3 rookies, Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson, I think the Dak hate has gone too far.
For one, where would you put him?
I would put him. I would make the case that the lowest he should be is 11th, and you could pick your favorite rookie, put him ahead of Dak.
Yeah,
And
but
then-
where would you put him? I want to know.
with the rookies.
I'd probably have him 10th. I'd probably move Bryce Young up to 9 and then have Dak right behind him. So I'd put him ahead of Watson, Richardson, Levis, and Kyler.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. It's just I think we saw the fall off for Dak, and I'm not sure it'll get much better.
And
I was-
Deshaun Watson, who hadn't had a good year in 4 years, doesn't have a fall off.
You're not sure it won't get much better? They had CeeDee Lamb, and that's it.
And now they have McCarthy as coordinator,
That is worrying.
and that's where I'm worried.
Ding, 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 ding.
I think Brandon Cooks, great addition, great signing, really good. Dak is going to be a top
At
15
Deshaun
quarterback.
Watson's peak, Dak was ahead of him on fantasy. Just putting that out there.
Wait, say that again?
At Deshaun Watson's peak, he peaked at 5. Dak peaked at 2 for quarterback rankings. in Dynasty.
We haven't seen the peak of Deshaun. Okay, I'm not getting into this.
You think Deshaun Watson's getting better than he was?
I have no idea, dude. I'm just talking. Let's be real.
Okay.
I have beef with you, Rozey. We shall discuss it.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Are you ready?
Wait, how do you know what he was going to say? Did
He's
you all
gonna
have
talk
a
about
meeting
Kirk.
beforehand?
Kirk Cousins. I don't. As far as dynasty goes, he's not a top 15 option anymore because he's got 2 years maybe left. So you can't have staff daddy above him at this point in his career.
Or Goff.
Or
Goff's got
Yeah.
1 year. And
yeah,
Kirk's
but
got 2.
okay,
That's not true.
Goff's got 1 year.
that's potentially true, but not.
Hudson, I wish you were telling the truth right now, but you're not.
I have no problem with Goff over Cousins, so we can avoid that whole argument altogether because the offense that Goff is running is freaking loaded, which Kirk's is too, but Goff is only 28 and Kirk is 34. Russ Wilson, I get we got to give him another year. I can't put him above Kirk. I'll never have Trey Lance above Kirk in my life.
Oh, well, yeah, we're going to end with Trey Lance.
Okay, so I can't say that Tua is borderline brain dead and shouldn't be in the top 25.
You can.
Okay,
Maybe
I said
put it a little more delicately.
Have we seen a
Brain
quarterback?
deceased.
Or
I don't.
Have we seen an NFL player just quit because of concussions? Not because he was
Yes.
scared to get concussions, but because of concussions. Because I don't think
Argue.
that we have.
You can argue Gronk did.
I was going to say there's some tight ends, I feel like.
Gronk had a lot of other injuries that I think.
Yeah, but he also
kept
had
getting hit in the
concussions.
legs.
Why did Calvin
Yeah.
Johnson retire?
His hands were like crooked
Okay.
because he had
For a
first lines.
receiver?
Yeah, you're right.
What about Andrew Luck? What did he retire for technically? Because he was just getting hit because they didn't have an offensive line.
Yeah, just injuries, not concussion.
Mental something or something. He did have a concussion, I think, that put him out, and then he was like, "What am I doing here?"
Breaking NFL news: the Bills signed a running back.
No,
is it any of the ones that Alex said?
It's got to be Zeke.
Former Patriots running back Damian Harris is signing with the Buffalo Bills.
You're a Buffalo Bill, baby. I love that. By the way,
congratulations, first round exit.
Yeah,
except for I don't
Harris
like it.
is really good.
I think it's going to be good for them.
I wanted James Cook to be the running back one because I have no running backs.
Continue, Trent.
Where was Tua? I with his injury history last year, I don't think you can put him above any of these guys on this list because he's. I mean, I heard
the first one to do it. He'd be the first one to get knocked out because of concussions.
Well, I don't really necessarily think that it'll be his choice. Like if he gets one,
decide for him.
Well, I feel like the
You
Dolphins
say that.
might just move on at quarterback, and no one else will just take him at that point.
No, man. Like Mike McDaniels has hitched his wagon completely to Tua. If Tua's gone, then Mike McDaniels is also gone.
Luke Kuechly retired because
Why
of
do you
concussions.
think that?
Luke Kuechly,
best
he didn't even have
linebacker of our generation.
yeah.
Hold on, wait. Why do you think that Mike McDaniels has hitched his wagon to Tua?
He hasn't.
He talks nonstop about how great Tua is and like all the adversity that he went through, and like we need to build around Tua.
Why don't they have a first round pick this year?
Because of tampering. That was before Mike McDaniels got there, man.
No, but why don't they have it though?
Because they wanted Tom Brady.
Exactly. They're not hitching their wagon to Tua.
Yeah, but
you can't.
Who did I take? Who did I
that's
say?
Tom
It's Mike
Brady.
McDaniels.
That's Tom Brady. You can't.
Okay,
Exactly.
what is Mike McDaniels supposed to say? He's supposed to hype up his guy.
We should have drafted Herbert.
What you say is we evaluate the quarterback position. We every position's a battle. All that coach speak stuff that
Not
if
about
you
your
were moving
quarterback.
on from a quarterback, you would say.
Yeah. Okay.
You know
But if you say that to Tua, he's had so many like mind issues. You don't know what he's going to think if you say something like that. Like he might be like, "This is too hard. I'm going to give up."
Well,
Yeah,
they
but that's
talked
the thing.
about
You're
that
not saying
last year.
anything. If you were to say that, no, Mike McDaniels is in love with Tua. If Tua is gone, he's gone too. I guarantee you.
Why would he give up a head coaching job? Because he doesn't have.
He's
Tua
going to get
tagged
fired.
on.
Rosie, you know the famous example.
I sure hope he gets fired and then McCarthy gets replaced by him because then the Cowboys could actually win something.
You know the famous example of a coach talking up their quarterback when it's all coach speak? It wasn't that long ago. Do you remember it?
Who are you talking about?
Cliff Kingsbury. They had Josh Rosen, and they had drafted him a year prior. Kingsbury comes in. Cardinals have the number 1 overall pick, and they asked him about it, and you know what he said? He said, "Josh is our guy." And then they drafted Kyler Murray like 2 weeks later. So just because Mike McDaniels is in the press hyping up Tua,
Yeah, but the thing is, Cliff is a con man, and of course he can say all that. Mike McDaniels is the most genuine person in NFL at this point.
And that's how he got you. He tricked you. Now you
Oh,
trust him.
dang.
You sucked in. You drank the
got
Kool-Aid.
all right, let's end with Trey Lance because Rozey has him 17th, and he has played a total of 15 minutes in the NFL. Wait, hold on, that's not right.
Like 2 games, maybe something like that.
Um,
He played in the mudslide first game and then got hurt in the second. He might have played one his rookie year, or 1 or 2.
he played. Let's see, he played 1 full game, and then he played like 4 snaps and got hurt in week 2 of this season. Rosie, can we make sure that Trey Lance actually has a starting quarterback job before we put him in the top 25?
If he is a starting quarterback, he's a top 10 quarterback for fantasy.
So who is he
That's
bumping
just
out of your
facts.
top 10?
Probably the guy in 10th.
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, this ranking's a fraud then. It has to be whoever's in 10th.
It's just I don't know if he will be a starting quarterback or for what team he's playing. So If he's
Fraudulent.
starting and he can run, okay, he's gonna be a top 10 quarterback option. Like he's a running quarterback in the best system in the NFL with the best weapons in the NFL. That's just how it's gonna have to be.
So if you're in a dynasty league and you have Russell Wilson and someone offers you Trey Lance, or let's flip it around.
That's a bad example.
I have Trey Lance, so ask me.
Okay, Hudson, you have Trey Lance. Someone offers you Jared Goff for him.
Not a chance. Not taking it.
Tua.
That one I'd think of. That's the only one that's below him on this list that I'd have to really stop and think about it. Because if he actually is this goes back to my whole job security. I don't think either of them have great job security. But
yeah. I don't know. I think with Trey Lance, you're in love with the tape from college. All 5 minutes of it.
Of course I am.
North Dakota State.
I mean, 17 is not high. If he runs
higher than Kirk, and I got an issue with it.
Yeah, but like
Kirk's been a top 10 quarterback,
man.
You just said Kirk has 2 years left.
How many years left
take a
Trey
shot
Lance
on Trey Lance.
Yeah,
he could only have 2 also, but Trey Lance's upside is a billion times
got
higher than Kirk Cousins.
That'd be great.
Okay, but if I bet you which quarterback is going to play more snaps over the next, 5 years, Trey Lance or Kirk Cousins?
All right, man, but like
I'd say 50-50. That'd be a tough one because it's just like, does Lance get a chance?
Exactly. You're definitely placing a bet. This isn't I'm all in on Trey Lance. He's at 17, but there is a chance that he's a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
It's all about preference. Some people like him, some people don't.
Compare him to like Jordan Love, who's just been sitting there for 4 years and got thrown into a trade to me last year that made no sense. But they can sit for a while. Once he gets a chance, he's going to get a chance at some point. He was a top 5 pick. Someone's going to let him be their starting quarterback for a year. So it's just once that year comes, does it work or not?
And he hasn't failed yet. I'll say
that. He played in a mudslide, and people wrote him off because of that.
Okay. Let's wrap it there. Anything else on Rozey's quarterback rankings?
I probably should have had Jordan Love at 25.
Nope.
I kind of forgot he exists.
You did the right thing. You did the right thing, Rozey. You did nothing wrong. Continue.
Well, in that case.
Yeah, I definitely have Jordan Love over Mac Jones.
It's 2023 has been a weird year for making the call because Trent agrees with Rozey all the time. And I just don't know how to handle it because they would always be like at each other's throats on this podcast.
The only thing
now
I
it's
ever
like,
disagreed,
Rozey, perfect list, no complaints.
The only thing I ever disagreed with Rozey is how he shorted the Vikings every single week last year.
That was probably the right call.
Shut up, Hudson.
The episode
It's the most fraudulent team ever.
You don't even go here. You go to a different school. You don't even go here.
I went to the same school as you, except for when you left for a few years and then came back.
The podcast episode after the Vikings beat the Bills in Buffalo.
Oh my gosh.
Was some of the highest tension that we've ever seen on these wavelengths. Like you had Trent wanting to build a statue of Kirk Cousins, and then you had Rozey just like at the.
I still want that statue. Best quarterback the Vikings have ever had.
Watching the end of that game with Josh Allen fumbling in the end zone,
you saw that and you're like, that is my number one quarterback in Dynasty.
I felt like my team lost the Super Bowl.
I told you not to show up. I said, don't show up tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, despite
like the Vikings
Josh Allen's numerous turnovers, he was still the QB too. So I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah.
All right. Wish he would hand the ball off sometimes. He doesn't need to run for 4 yards.
Not for fantasy, man. I love it.
I'd rather conserve his health a little bit.
You're just saying that because he got James Cook.
Well, he wasn't really getting the ball much last year, but sure.
All right, let's move on to NFL free agency. Before we do, let me take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Firegrounds Coffee. It's the best coffee in all the land. You can use promo code MTC10 for 10% off your entire order, every single order. If you were paying attention and you joined the Making the Call bracket pool for March Madness, then you know that the first place winner not only gets the 70% of the pool money, but also gets a free order to Firegrounds Coffee of their choosing. So we love Firegrounds Coffee. I've got the bag sitting right behind me on the bookshelf. I had it twice today because I'm in the busy time of my job. And so I had it this morning, had it after lunch, needed that extra afternoon pick me up. It's delicious. K-Cups are delicious. The whole bean's delicious. The ground is delicious. Go try Firegrounds Coffee today. Use promo code MTC10 for 10% off every order, your entire order. All right. Final segment of the podcast, talking NFL free agency, but we've got Rozey on, so we got to talk about kind of the fantasy impact of this. And so what we're going to do, I've made a list of kind of all the big moves. Apologies to Jonnu Smith. You did not make the cut. I wish nothing but the best for you in Atlanta.
Hey, you just mentioned his name. Nice.
Hey, there you go. So we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about the big moves, but we're going to look at it in the lens of, does this move in terms of fantasy impact fall into three categories? Huge fantasy impact, average, or little to no impact? Because
in terms of that player or in terms of overall?
In terms of that player.
Okay.
In terms of that player. And it could be good or bad impact. Could go either way. But I think it's good to kind of go through this exercise because, especially in Dynasty, there's no offseason. So when a guy on your team gets traded or signed somewhere else, you want to know what to do with them. You want to know kind of how to gauge, their value. So that's what we're going to
Some people that play Dynasty football don't understand that there's no offseason.
Well, some people that play Dynasty football don't understand that there is an end season either. They just don't respond to any trades.
It drives me nuts. Anyways, we can continue.
Wonder who you guys are talking about.
I've got like how long do you have? I've got like a laundry list of culprits. So, all right. This one came down Monday, and that is that the Texans signed tight end Dalton Schultz. He's staying in Texas, going from Dallas to Houston. Fantasy impact for Dalton Schultz, because I think he's kind of been a, kind of top 10 tight end. He's pretty reliable when he's on the field.
He finished 11 last year.
And he missed half the
season. I feel like he missed some time,
half the season.
Right?
He missed.
Not half the season, but a few games.
He missed 3 games.
Yeah.
I like it for the Texans.
I like it for the Texans. I don't like it for Dalton Schultz fantasy value.
And you see, I'm a wait and see on this because we assume the Texans are going to get Bryce Young. He just seems like a tight end thrower to me.
But Dak is like the ultimate tight end thrower.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz was a top five tight end with him.
Okay, but the comparison is to his current value. So even projecting Bryce Young to be the top tight end thrower.
Okay, so I'm gonna I know that I just got done setting up this segment, but I'm gonna change it. So instead of huge, average, or little to no fantasy impact, we're gonna say, does this move increase this player's value? They stay the same, or it decreases their value. So what would you say for Dalton Schultz to the Texans?
Stays the same.
Stays the same. Tight end 10.
Marginal decrease, but like not a big deal.
So
Okay.
the
1 year contract a little bit concerning, and that also contributes.
Schultz is just the most mid tight end in the NFL.
Yeah.
He also thinks that it's college rules where you only need 1 foot inbound.
Oh man, that was a horrible game.
They'll need to teach them that down in Houston. Trent, a beloved player, has left your Minnesota Vikings, and that is Adam Thielen. Signed a 3-year contract with the Carolina Panthers. Before we get to the fantasy impact, I just want to ask you as a Vikings fan how you're feeling.
It felt like a Band-Aid getting ripped off because everyone in Minnesota knew it was going to happen. None of us really wanted it to happen, but it was the right move. It hurt when I saw the news, but I don't know. It's kind of like build up. Like, you got to do it, so you just got to just rip it and do it. So it's a little sad. He's a great guy. Great family man. Hope he does well.
It's going to be weird seeing him in a Panthers jersey.
No, it won't, because I won't watch.
You're not gonna
does
feel it.
What's that?
You're not gonna feel it.
Yeah, not feeling it.
What does this do to his fantasy value? Because I think,
It has to increase.
I agree, but also I'm hesitant to fully agree, if that makes sense. I don't think Carolina's done. I think there's more moves yet to do for them. So I'm kind of just waiting and seeing what else happens. Because right now he's wide receiver 1 in Carolina. But I don't
know if he can
anticipate.
handle a number 1 corner on him now.
I don't think that he will open the season as the number 1 wide receiver. I think Carolina's still working on a few things that we don't know about.
Does he work more in the slot?
Not really. He can.
He
but-
probably will now.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think the only thing you'd worry about if you have Thielen is, so they got the 39th pick in the draft. The Panthers do. Likely, probably going to spend that on a wide receiver.
Jalen Hyatt or the North Carolina kid, Dobbs?
Yeah.
Downs kid.
So, I mean, that could eat into some targets for Thielen. But
It's just it wasn't going to get better
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
the Vikings. I mean, he's already dust to me. That's the thing. I don't think that Thielen has
dang.
much left.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And so this
Fighting
is the
words.
best place that he could have got, I think.
pulling no punches.
I mean,
Goodness.
what was he like the 3rd or 4th target behind Hawkinson, Jefferson, and Cook? Maybe.
Yeah.
Osborne.
He wasn't behind Cook
That's going to be.
or Osborne. He was 3rd.
Okay.
It was a very steep drop off from 2 years ago, though. Very steep.
Yeah, it was. Which that always happens with receivers, man. Like they're going so well, and then they get to a certain point, and they
fall hard.
Fall
Julio
off a cliff.
Jones. Oh my gosh.
I feel like Devontae Adams is going to hit that this year.
ooh.
Making the call? Are you making the call?
I guess so. Yeah.
Wait.
Jimmy
Hold
G
on.
doesn't help.
Hold on. What are you doing?
I'm making the call that Devontae Adams is having his drops.
My God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
We haven't taught Hudson how to do the making the call.
Well, that's fine. We don't know how to either.
Yeah. No, we don't. Devontae Adams falling off this year. You heard it here first. We haven't done the making the call sound bit in a while.
You're welcome.
Gotta have some plates.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the Cowboys. They traded for wide receiver Brandon Cooks from the Texans. They could have just swapped, Schultz and Cooks because that's basically what's happening here. But I think that this increases his fantasy value quite a bit because Cowboys were needing someone to step in and be that number 2 option. And now it's clearly going to be Cooks. And I think he's going to have a pretty nice season in Dallas.
I'm opposite end of the spectrum. I think it decreases his fantasy value. He was the only option in Houston. Goes back to Mike McCarthy's calling plays. How many number 2 wide receivers has Mike McCarthy ever made relevant?
Jordy Nelson.
Randall Cobb. Well, no, Randall Cobb was number 2. Jordy Nelson was number 1. Hudson, come on.
Yeah,
Jennings there with Nelson?
No, Jennings left. Or Jennings was number 2 when Nelson showed up. Like Nelson showed up, took number 1 from Jennings, and then Jennings went to Minnesota and didn't really do anything. But yeah, I mean, he's going to be an adequate wide receiver 3, probably.
Man, you have really come down from liking this trade 3 hours
No,
ago.
I do love the trade. I like
It's a great
I'm just
trade for
saying.
the Cowboys.
I'm just saying. Brandon Cooks was a borderline, like a fringe
Yeah.
wide receiver 1 in Houston. He's not going to be that in Dallas.
Yeah, I think
fantasy
you're right.
wise.
I think it's probably, but he only had like 600 something yards last year, right?
Well, because he after the trade deadline he threw
Yeah,
a
he's
hissy
just-
fit.
So, I mean, like the value's probably about the same. Is the number 2 receiver on the Cowboys less than the 1 on the Texans last year? It's probably about the same.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The same, better football move than fantasy move.
Okay.
All right,
Um,
I'll buy into that. I'll go with the same.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just piggyback off Rozey said. Better football move than fantasy move.
Rozey, one of your pet cats, Miles Sanders, is joining Trent's buddy
Pet
Adam
cats?
Thielen down in Carolina.
Let's go, baby. Do I need to say anything?
How does this affect his fantasy value? Let's start there.
It's gonna shoot up, man.
Goes to the moon.
Just gotta stay healthy, and he did last year. He did it. He finally did it.
I gotta call Jack, see how good their line is to know the answer to this question.
They have an okay line. It's not going to be the Eagles, but he's going to get used. I mean, he's going to be a workhorse back, which
Is that might be
gone.
bad
Is anyone
news
else
for
still
his
there?
injury concerns.
Chuba's there, but that's
Yeah,
not
that's
really saying
nothing.
anything.
Chubba Bubbard.
Yeah, let's see. Who's number 2? They list. Okay, yeah.
So
they
you
got
like
black
this for Sanders, and
I think this is the perfect spot for Sanders.
I agree. I think his value goes up because of Carolina. He's no longer in a running back committee. He is going to be the guy.
And he's good enough. He's talented enough. I think he has over 5 yards per carry on his career. Not a lot of running backs can say that.
James Cook can.
Shut up about James Cook.
Someone tell the Bills coaching staff.
well, and we have, a pretty recent sample size of Frank Reich liking to use one guy as a workhorse. I mean, just go back 2 seasons of Jonathan Taylor. Not saying that, we're going to see a RB1 type campaign from Sanders, but I like his chances.
Oh, we
Or
could.
like RB number 1, not like top 12, like the top running back. And
No, I know what you said.
Oh, we could.
You did not stutter.
I think it's a pretty marginal increase in his value.
Because, I mean, who's going to be... Who else is there to throw to other than Thielen? Terrace Marshall?
Lavishka Chenault.
Sanders might be the second best pass catcher there. So if he's getting 60,
we need to wait and see how the draft goes.
I don't really care how the draft goes. They don't have a first.
What if they take Bijan with the 209 or something like that?
Then you care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing that happen.
You might see, like, you might hear Rozey just have like a mental breakdown on the podcast.
I'm gonna call the Panthers
he loves
the best.
Bijan and he loves Miles Sanders, and that would just like
That
for
hurt.
Rozey's sake, I hope that doesn't happen.
Thank you.
But for our friend Jack's sake, who's both a Panthers fan and a UT alum, that would
think
just
he
be
would
a
hate it,
dream
though.
scenario for him.
I don't think he'd like it because he knows they need other stuff.
You wouldn't want one of the best prospects in the second round? Oh man.
He would
I don't
be
know. It's
happy
just
with it.
how running backs are valued are very difficult. So
They're
Yeah, but
valued
it's
in the
said-
second round.
Up to everyone's opinion.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Patriots signed wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, and we'll lump this in with. I thought I
Jacoby
had
Myers.
another- Yeah, Jacoby Myers to the Raiders.
Gesicki went to the Patriots too.
Yeah, that just doesn't feel very.
man, you're just saying
Okay.
a bunch of stuff that doesn't do anything for me.
Is James Robinson that running back?
Yeah.
Yes,
Is he on the Patriots now?
he's
Yeah.
signed with the Patriots as well
Okay, so Ramondre's
he'll be
value
back
just
up.
went up.
for Ramondre Stevenson. All right, I'll give you one that's fantasy relevant. The Giants traded for Darren Waller, tight end from Las Vegas. Let's make this a two-parter because I know how we like to talk about Daniel Jones on this podcast. What is the fantasy impact for Darren Waller, and what is the fantasy impact for Daniel Jones?
Well, if you would have told me the Giants traded for Darren Waller last year, I would have called Darren Waller the tight end 1. I loved Darren Waller last year. I thought he was the best, and obviously he didn't live up to it because of injuries. And so I think that would really help Daniel Jones. But this year, I don't know, man. Once these old tight ends start getting injured, I just don't have any faith.
This is a terrible podcast. I agree
What?
with you, Rosie. Because I'm just everything Rosie's saying. I'm just like, yeah. There's like
Yeah,
no
Waller
banter
does
here
nothing for
whatsoever.
me. They should have gone for Schultz.
That would
I wouldn't say that, but
Interesting.
Fun though.
it's just
That would've been
Waller's
fun.
already 30. He's going to be 31 going into the season, already dealing with injuries. If he can stay healthy, then great. Great for both of their values.
Yep.
I can't I can't get fully behind it.
Interesting.
Dude had to catch passes from Derek Carr. He's getting killed over the middle.
I would like to think that Brian Daboll can drop some nice open looks for Darren Waller.
That's not the Rozey's saying has nothing to do with how he plays football. He's a great football player. It's can he stay healthy, because he hasn't in the past 2 seasons. So like I completely
one good season, maybe 2. Can't remember.
But when he's healthy, he plays. He's
top,
top,
I know, that's what I'm saying.
He's top 3-4 tight end in the league. But he
was up there with Kittle two off seasons ago. It was Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller were pretty much even.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is if he can stay healthy, then this is a great pickup. But what was it, a 3rd round pick or a 5th round pick, 3rd round pick? That doesn't make any sense to me why you would trade.
It was the Chiefs' 3rd round.
It was the Tony pick, the pick they got from the Chiefs for Tony.
It was a good trade for the Giants.
Yeah,
probably for the Raiders too, but I'm not sure the fantasy.
Low risk, high reward.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Rozey, your Lions signed running back David Montgomery.
I was
Thoughts?
pissed off at first. I mean, I've been crapping on Jamal all season long because I don't think he's that good. But him as a leader, I was like, you're not going to pay Jamal 3 years, $18 million. Like, come on, dude. But apparently they did offer him that, and he said no. He said that he was insulted by that. So, F off, Jamal. I'm happy to have David Montgomery. I think he's a better back.
Wait, are you actually a Lions fan?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Okay. He had to make sure. He never met
like
one
he's
in a
a
while
unicorn
before.
invested, and he was really pissed off at Jamal Williams because of this.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't show that on the podcast, but
no, it never comes out.
Rozey, your Lions fandom is showing.
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to adapt. You take the Bears because I don't like Fields. I'll take the Packers, and we'll just really go at it here, Andrew.
Well, no, I'll take the Bears because I have like a future bet on them to win a Super Bowl at some point. So I'm like a closeted Bears fan.
Is this future?
What's that?
How open is this future? How many years you got?
So it's like me and a few other guys, and you put in, I want to say it's like $50 a year. And like at the time you each pick a team that's like the bottom 8 or whatever in Super Bowl odds, and you keep that team every year until one of those teams wins it, and then that person gets the entire pool, and then it resets. So it reset like 3 years ago when the Tampa Bay Bucks won the Super Bowl, and so I've been at it since.
That sounds fun,
dude. I would have killed that Bucks one. I was saying he was going there for like months.
No, I'm not feeling super optimistic about it because one of the guys has the Bengals because it was like the season after Joe Burrow tore his ACL, but he hasn't won the pool yet. But
I think they missed their window.
Wait, so do you only get one team, or do you pick a new team?
You get one team the entire time.
So you pick the Bears. So
you're if you would have known,
who'd you pass on to take the Bears?
This was before they drafted Fields. Like this was like 3 years ago.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Like, who were you considering at the time?
Who'd you pass?
So the Bengals had already been taken.
Okay.
It was like the Bears, the Panthers, the Texans.
Should have gone Lions, man. We going to the Super Bowl next year.
Lions were probably there.
Sorry.
The Chargers might have been in it at that point. The Dolphins.
No, the Chargers already had Herbert.
Well, it would. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it was before or after the Herbert, because Herbert tour were 5-6, so
like the teams I was picking from were not like it was the bottom teams you would think of. It's just like literally that following
Jaguars?
year was the Joe Burrow like breakout year.
Historical Super Bowl odds.
We
really want to get into this?
Do you like so Montgomery? He doesn't seem that like. Are they replacing Swift kind of? Like, I know Swift is different, but like he doesn't seem that different in terms of just like the pass catching. Swift's much better, but just putting him back behind your line and saying go, is it really that big a difference? I kind of think you might be phasing Montgomery in to phase Swift out.
we talked about this in the running backs rankings. They're definitely phasing Swift out. I don't think that Montgomery is the one that's doing that. I think Montgomery's more the early downs guy, like Jamal Williams was. I think Montgomery has the third most tackles broken in the league. So I think that he's just going to take the Jamal Williams role, and then Swift is going to be the third down back again.
So still no goal line touches for Swift.
Exactly. And I think next year they're going to just move on from Swift.
Interesting. Okay.
They might draft another running back in the draft this year. I wouldn't be surprised.
Charbonnet or someone like that.
If Bijan falls 18,
I don't think they'd use a first.
I'm making the call.
Swift and
but they don't like Swift.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I'm making the call.
My God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
Lions draft Bijan Robinson Williams
with their
18.
top pick with
18.
18. Oh, with 18.
I don't know their needs, so I don't really know how to come back to that.
I don't think he gets to 18, to be honest.
Where do you think he goes?
Eagles or
I'd
Falcons
like to see him in Buffalo
or Bears.
Oh my!
I know that all these Cowboys fans are trying to say they should take him at 26 because they shored up like their two biggest needs at wide receiver and cornerback. But please, no, thank you. I'm good.
I don't think he's going to be there at 26, but I also just don't want another first round running back. We have too many holes for that.
Trent, I found the teams that I was picking from like
I wanna hear
3 years ago. So the teams that were selected by the people in the pool, I have the Bears. Someone else has the Falcons. Someone has the Panthers. Someone has the Jaguars. Someone has the Bengals, and someone has the Jets. Those are the teams.
Okay.
The other teams that were available that were not selected by anyone were the Giants, the Raiders, the Eagles, the Lions, and the Texans.
And you can't go with two of those, so.
Yeah, I wasn't going to pick the Eagles. Are you kidding me? Or the Giants. So that's who we
should have got Lions,
from.
Man. Even though the Lions haven't won a playoff game since 1991.
They probably should have, though, that Cowboys game.
Don't even bring it up, man.
Let's end it with one more. This is a choose your own adventure. Raiders signing Jimmy Garoppolo, Bears trading for DJ Moore, or the Saints signing for Derek Carr.
Bears trading for DJ Moore is an interesting way to phrase that trade.
Well,
they got DJ Moore.
What's the fantasy impact of the 9th pick, Hudson? Like,
just saying.
Okay, so DJ Moore. I think we kind of already hit on this, but it seems to me that y'all think that this hurts his fantasy value.
Stock down.
People are going to be going for him, and I wouldn't, basically, because, like, what's the difference between catching a pass from Fields, Darnold, Walker, Mayfield? Okay, Baker may be worse, but
unfortunately, you're correct.
Yeah. He was in a bad quarterback situation for receivers, and he's still in a bad quarterback situation for receivers.
Yeah, and they won't pass the ball as much. I think that's the biggest thing that people aren't touching on is the Bears will not pass the ball. You saw it last year. He had Fields with like 8 passing attempts some games. Like, that's really not good for a receiver.
Dante Foreman, man, come get him.
But imagine if all 8 of those go to DJ Moore.
Oh, man, he's going to catch 2 of them.
2 receptions for 7 yards.
No, one of them will be a deep ball. Fields could throw a deep ball because he is an NFL quarterback. So.
And DJ Moore is not Stephon Diggs or DeAndre Hopkins. He's not.
Wait,
well, I mean, that's what people are comparing him to, though. Is
that's who are these people? I would like to talk to them.
I know, like some PFF guys. I know some Panthers fans that love DJ Moore. It's just the slept-on receiver that never reaches his full potential until he goes to
Deontay Johnson.
He's exactly like Terry McLaurin. I don't think Terry McLaurin's all that good either. So they're fine. They're
Yeah.
good
Kind of like
wide
Justin
receiver
Jefferson,
twos.
not actually that good.
The
I
gloves
just
are already
traded
off.
Justin Jefferson in one of my leagues.
For what?
I traded him to Trent.
For what?
It was
I
in
just want
the
to be
8
very
and 8
clear.
league.
I think Justin Jefferson is very good.
So I had like the ultimate triplet at wide receiver of Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb.
Golly.
But my running backs, my starting running backs next year were going to be David Montgomery, Ezekiel Elliott, and Alvin Kamara.
Where's your pick?
So 109.
Oof, yeah.
So I traded with Trent. I gave him Justin Jefferson and 201 for
Pretty good pick.
Jonathan Taylor and 106.
Ugh. Oh, good job, Trent. Fleece.
You don't like it?
No,
Trent
that's
texted
horrible.
me and I said, yeah, I would have I would have accepted that from his perspective if I wasn't even getting the second round pick back.
Yeah.
So what do I? But you didn't ask for that.
I think it's
It's
I
just
think
Justin Jefferson is just so high
So-
up there that it's just like,
Yeah.
he is. But the thing is like
hold on.
especially
This
when
is-
you know
this-
you're trading with the Vikings.
This goes back to my age old theory of fantasy football trades. It's just hearing trades. You cannot judge them based off just hearing them. You have to look at the person's team. Andrew
it does
had
make a big difference for him.
Andrew
He needs
Andrew
it.
had wide receiver 1, 2, and 3. And
three.
well, in some dynasty rankings, they have him third.
Okay.
And he had no running backs. I have Jonathan Taylor, Saquon, and actually right now that's it. So all I have right now is Saquon, so that's a little bit of an issue. So anyone out there listening, I need a running back. So he came and got Jonathan Taylor because
James
his team
Cook.
needed a running back. So I have no problem with Andrew went out and did what he needed to do. And we're all happy in the end.
I would
Least
just trade
am.
the 201 for Miles Sanders and then bam.
I got first for Miles Sanders.
Also
last
in this dynasty league, it's going on for 2 more years, and then we're doing a full reset.
And
So
we're trying to fight. We're trying to fight that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay,
I'm betting on 2 more years of Jonathan Taylor, and then we're starting over.
year. That's not a bad bet, I guess.
And I get pick 106.
That league is
draft
dumb.
So
someone.
what are we looking at there? So you got
I mean,
that's Smith and Jigba, Johnson, whichever receiver you like best, or maybe one of the quarterbacks or Jimmy or Gibbs is still there.
yeah.
Jameer Gibbs will not still be there because I have 1-4.
So you're getting him in both leagues, then, is what you're saying. Well, actually, no, you said you're. Never mind.
Well, we'll wait and see until the draft happens because I got to leverage.
He's not going below 1-4 in either league, is what I'm hearing, because I have the 1-4 in the other.
Which
league.
I heard in the Making
Correct.
the Call Dynasty League that Rozey's a commissioner. We're going to be doing our draft at the same time as the NFL draft. We don't want to waste any time. We're just going to get it out of the way, knock it out.
Hey, if y'all want to, we get through the first 2 rounds. I'm down.
All right, let's wrap it there.
Can
Thank
we
you,
just go
Hudson.
over a couple?
Oh.
Derek Carr, value stays the same. Jimmy G, value up. Probably going to get replaced in a year.
I'd kind of say Derek Carr value up. I think they're just going to pass it a lot more there than he was airing it out.
I think his value is already too high.
Yeah, he's not great. I don't like him as a quarterback, but just comparatively, I'd take him more in New Orleans.
Baker Mayfield, I'd probably pay a second. Value up. Just because, he's going to be a starting quarterback. Trask is not going to start.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I don't know about a second.
A late second. Yep.
I have the 210. I don't think I'd give that up for Baker.
Jacoby Myers, who cares? James Robinson is dust. That's all the free agents.
There you go. What does James,
James
Robinson and
Robinson.
Adam Thielen have in common? Rozey thinks they're both dust. So we'll end the podcast there. Thank you, Hudson, for joining. As always, Trent, do you have a dad joke for us?
Hudson, number between 1 and 123.
77.
Why is he? Oh no, he's not even playing. He's hurt.
Shout out, Luca. I'll be writing about you in the Substack post coming out this Friday.
That's
I need
you
a
don't have to write
number.
about me.
I need a number between 1 and 3.
2. Isn't that Kyrie's number?
Yeah.
It is.
I think I might have bad posture, but it's just a hunch.
That was pretty good. That one was good. All right.
Why did the man fall down the well?
He didn't
He
see
got
well.
pushed.
He didn't see that well.
Give us another one. Keep it going.
Oh gosh. All right. Why do pirates have trouble singing the alphabet?
They get stuck on R.
They
or
struggle
something
with
like
their
that?
R's.
They get lost at sea.
Oh. It went in a direction I wasn't expecting. Got to give him credit there.
Yeah.
Oh, I turned to the exact same page.
You are so proud of yourself.
It's the little things in life, Andrew.
I'm proud of you too, Trent.
Thanks, man. I'm doing what I can. I'm trying.
All right, last one. Don't put the book away. This is your moment.
Mrs. Goat, honey, we're going to have a baby. Mr. Goat, you're kidding.
Yeah.
I don't get that one at all.
Because
Why are they goats?
because a kid goat is a kid. That's
Okay.
like a baby goat's a kid.
All right, that's going to do it for the podcast. Thank you to everyone who tuned in on Twitch. Thank you to everyone listening to us in podcast form. And thank you to everyone who goes out and tries Firegrounds Coffee and uses promo code MTC10. I will be back on the Substack this Friday writing about the Dallas Mavericks. And then we'll be back with another podcast next week, probably talking some more March Madness, maybe some fantasy, maybe some NFL offseason if some other crazy stuff happens. Who honestly knows? So we'll
Read
have
the
a
top
podcast
25.
The sacking of Antonio
that?
Conte. We're gonna have to talk
Read the
about
top
that.
25 quarterbacks before it's behind the paywall.
That's right. Before it's behind the threatened paywall. That is, I guess, coming to the Substack. Not actually, but yeah, we'll have a Substack post this Friday. We'll have another podcast next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time.